So the first thing I'm gonna point out to you guys is announcement here. So the first announcement I want to share with you guys is your last day to withdraw class. So I already finished grading your test 2. I will post the key to you guys tomorrow. So today is the last day to withdraw the class. So if you feel like you are not doing well in the class, please withdraw today. Otherwise, it will be affected your GPA. So today is the last day to withdraw from your class, from this class. So make sure you do that. And then on Wednesday, the 1st, your online homework 4.3 and 4.4 is due. Okay. So on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, online homework 4.3 and 4.4 is due. We still have like a little bit left on 4.3. And then after that, we will continue with 4.4, which is the main part of your test, is mostly 4.4. So again, your finals, you're allowed to bring one piece of note, front page only. So one piece of notes, so one page of notes. So you can bring one page, front page only, one front page of notes. You can do whatever you want with that. Okay, that's your finals. It will only consist of chapter 4, 4.3, and 4.4, and chapter 11. So then it will go from chapter 11, 11.1 till 11.3. I think we'll include 11.5. So 5 or 4, I forgot which one. So this is your finals. So I want to point out to you guys that your final is not comprehensive. It's just the last few sections left over here. So that will be your finals. Your online homework is due on Wednesday, 4.3 and 4.4. Your last day to withdraw from the class is tonight. So either you can do it online or you can go to the school to withdraw the class. Anyone have any questions here with the with the schedule that we have for this? We're almost done. We got 3 more weeks of class, 2 more weeks of teaching, and then the last week is your finals week. Anyone have any questions for me? So when you talk about hyperbola, so today we continue with hyperbola here. So your hyperbola has 2 types. Either it is on the horizontal or on the vertical axis, your transverse axis. If it's on the horizontal axis, your transverse axis, all your center, your vertices, and your foci all falls into the horizontal axis. Then the equation is given us by x squared over by a squared minus by y squared over b squared equals to 1. With the asymptotes of y equals to plus minus b over ax. And in order for us to find c, the c, which is the distance from the foci, we use a Pythagorean theorem: c squared equals to a squared plus b squared. However, if your transverse axis is on the vertical axis, means that your center, your vertices, and your foci all line up in the vertical axis, then your equation in this case is y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals to 1. And the asymptotes will be y equals to plus minus abx. Okay. Very important rules about this hyperbola is it does not mention a has to be greater than b. Ellipse, when you do ellipse, the a here has to be greater than b. That is for ellipse. But for hyperbola, it does not mention. As long as your a and b are positive, that is what the rule is. So how do we know that which one is a vertical and which one is a horizontal? Depends on what variable come first. So if your x variable come first, your x squared, or in this case, your x squared is a positive and your y squared is negative, then it is a horizontal axis. But if you switch around, if you have a y squared is positive and your x squared is negative, then this is your vertical as you will have a vertical asymptotes. So this is how we figure out your hyperbola in this case. So figure out which one is positive in this case. So we have a question here. Question number 8 is given us. The question number 8 here is asking us to figure out what is the vertices of the parabola. And then you have to sketch the parabola using the asymptote as an aid. So you got 4y squared minus 9x squared equals to 36. So you have to find the vertices, and then you have to sketch the parabola using the asymptotes. So first thing first is you need to figure out is this a horizontal or is this a vertical? And you have to tell me why you say it is this or the other one. Only one correct answer. So make sure you guys know this, very important. So anyone know is this hyperbola is a horizontal axis on the transverse axis or the vertical one? Anyone? Anyone know? What happens to you guys? So quiet. Logan, Adrian, Nicholas, Cameron, which one is this belongs to? Horizontal or vertical axis? Anyone? Damon, Danny?
Is it the vertical?
Why is a vertical axis in this case, Cameron?
Is it because the y comes for the x?
Watch carefully because your y in this case is positive. Okay, so so yes, that is correct. So this is a vertical asymptote here. The reason why is because your y in this case is positive. Okay, but if you look at your formulas, your formula says that this has to be always equals to 1. So they're all always equals to 1. So we need to make this equals to 1. So I will divide everything by 36. So you will get 1. So can someone do some fractions for me, or reducing fraction? What is 4 over 36? What's 4 over 36? 1/9. Yep. So it's y squared over 9. And what is 9 over 36? This will be 1/4. Okay, now this is 1/4. So if you look at the formulas, it says that because it's a vertical, so the first one is your a square and this one is your b square. So this is your a square and this is your b square. So can someone tell me what is a in this case and what is b in this case? A is 3 and b in this case is 2. The question wants us to find what is the vertices in this case. So vertices is your vertex. So if you look at your picture, this is your vertex, and your vertex, is that based on A or B? Your vertices, is that based on A or based on B? This is based on your A. So don't forget, if you want to find how far it is from the center to the vertices, is based on your A. So your vertices in this case will be 0A because it is on the y-axis. So if you remember, it is on the y-axis. So your vertex in this case will be 0A. And you got 2 because one is on the top and one is on the bottom. So, so in this case, your vertices will become 0 plus minus 3. Okay. This also wants you to figure out what is your asymptote. So if you remember the asymptote formula is y equals to plus minus a over bx because your y is a and your x is b. So this is kind of like slope because if you remember in your algebra class, this is collects your x, is your slope. So slope is change of y over change of x. So in this case, it's a over b. So in this case, will be plus minus 3 over 2x. So this is your asymptotes equation. Y equals to a is 3 and b is 2. So it's 3 over 2x. So now we will able to draw this graph. So the center in this case will be at 0, 0, because in this section, all the centers is at 0, 0. Your vertices in this case will be at 0, 3. So at 0, 3, you got your vertices. And 0, negative 3, you got your vertices. Now, you need to have asymptotes of y equals to 3 over 2x. So how do you draw 3 over 2x on the asymptote? Is 3 over 2 means your slope is positive. So you go up 3 and then you go over 2. So you go up 3 and go over 2. So this is your first asymptotes, which is y equals to 3 over 2x. And then the other one is negative 3 over 2x, means you go up and then you go over 2 left. So this is your asymptotes for y equals to 3. So this is y equals to negative 3 over 2x. And this is y equals to 3 over 2x. And now we have the vertex is on the up down. So that means that your graph in this case is going to be up and down. So this hyperbola in this case will have a graph look something like this. The green line. So this is your
Wait, isn't it supposed to go down 3 because it's negative 3 over 2?
You can. I can go up 3 and go across. I can go this way, or I can go down 3 and go over.
Same thing. Okay.
Same thing. Yep. So this is your. So this is how you figure out. So very important is every time when you draw a hyperbola, you need to use your asymptotes to do it. Okay. One way to figure out your asymptote is doing this 3 over 2. Another way for you to draw this using your asymptote is draw me the box. So there are 2 ways for you to do it. One way is if you know your y equals mx plus b, you can draw it out. Another way is you use a box. So as you know, the a is 3. So a is 3 means this is negative 3 and this is positive 3. And then your b is 2. So 2 in this case means you go from negative 2 and 2. Now, used to be, if you just draw a picture like this is used to be an ellipse, okay? But this is not an ellipse, this is a hyperbola. So hyperbola looks something like that. So instead of you drawing an ellipse, you draw your box. So this is your box. Your box is actually will go from this 3, 3, and 2, 2, based on your A and B. And then in order for you to draw me the asymptotes, you just cross from one end of the box to the other end. So this, and you cross to your center. This will be y equals to 3 over 2x. And then you go on the other way from one end of the box to the other end, passing through your center. This will be negative 3 over 2x. And your graph will be passing through the vertex 0, 3 and 0, negative 3. So there are 2 ways for us to draw a hyperbola here. One way is if you know you can use a y equals to mx plus b that you learn in algebra to go your up and down your slope. Otherwise, you can draw me a box. This box is also based on the a and b, which is the same as here. And then you just connect from one end to another end, passing through the center, and that is your asymptote equation. Okay. So there are 2 ways for you to draw it. Which one I suggest? I will suggest you to do the box way, because you do not need to worry about drawing this graph. You just need to draw the box and then you just cross it. That was the fastest way to do it. Otherwise, if you want to do this way, then make sure you know how to draw your y equals mx plus b graph. And you're going to do 2 times because one is a positive slope and the other one is a negative slope. Okay, so you always have 2 asymptotes in this case. Anyone have any questions in question 8 here? Anyone have any questions in questions 8? So let me kind of do what summary we have. So in order for you to have a circle, both your x squared and your y squared are positive. So this is how we figure out circle here. Okay. To having a parabola, one of these will be square. So one of your variables will be square. Okay. So this is your parabola. So how do we figure out so you see figure out which one is which? In order for us to have an ellipse, both your x and y is square, but it has to be positive. Okay, so this is an ellipse equation. Make sure you know that for ellipse, your a has to be greater than b. And both a and b has to be greater than 0. Okay, and for the hyperbola, you don't use plus, you use minus. So you've got x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. Or you interchange your x and y. So now your y squared is positive here. Your a and b is still the same location. And again, it's not plus, it's minus. So this is a hyperbola in this case. And this not necessary a has to be greater than b, but a and b has to be greater than 0. So this is a hyperbola. So how do you differentiate once you look at the equation is circle, both of this is square and has a plus sign. Hyperbola, only one of the variables square, the other variable does not square. Ellipse, both of the variables square with the plus sign. The only difference between a circle and ellipse in this case is a is equals to b. So if you find out that your a and b is the same, then your ellipse will become circle. Okay. For hyperbola, you don't add them, you subtract. So if you see that the two terms with minus, it's going to be hyperbola. So this is how you figure out which one is which. Okay. So so for question number 9, they're asking you that is this true or false? So the question is asking true or false. Okay. And if it's true, tell me why it's true. If it's false, why it's false. So the question is asking is x squared minus y squared equals to 144 is a circle. Is this true or false? True or false? Anyone? X squared minus y squared equals to 144 is a circle. True or false? Anyone?
False.
Why this is false?
Because it's not positive. Both
Okay.
both what you can call it, variables are positive.
Yep. So in order to be true, this should be what? Positive, right? So this will be a circle. So that's why this is false. All right, question 9b, it says that y squared plus 16x squared equals to 64 is an ellipse with the major axis on the vertical axis. Is that true or false? So if you remember ellipse, we got two types, which is these two. And they say that this equations that you get is a major axis on the vertical. So that's the question it says. That means you got this formula. So true or false for this question, number B, 9B. So in order for us to answer this is true or false, you have to make this equation equals to 1. So I will divide everything here by 64. So what I get here is y squared over 64 plus, if I reduce 16 and 64, anyone, what is a reduce of 16 over 64? Okay, so that's 1/4. So which one is bigger, 64 or 4? So 64 is bigger, so this is your a squared, and this is your b squared. So if you look at the formulas, the a squared is above your y, and your b squared is above your x squared. So is this the same as this equation? That your b squared is above your x squared, your a squared is above your y squared. So is this correct? True or false?
False.
This will be true.
Mm.
The reason why is this is the one that we're looking for. This is the major axis on the vertical axis. So this is correct because your a squared in this case is bigger than y squared. So your y in this case is above. So this is the, if you have such case, this will be having on a horizontal axis. So since our a here is underneath the y, not underneath your x. So in this case, this will be your vertical axis. So this is how you figure out, if you look at your ellipses, which one is vertical and which one is horizontal. Looking at your a and b, the bigger number underneath your x square is on the horizontal. If your bigger numbers on your y square is on the vertical. Since this 60, if you look at this example, this number is under, the bigger one is under the y square, so it is on the vertical axis. So this is how we figure out if this is true or false in this case. So 9B is true. Questions? Now, what happens is in this section 4.3, every single one of your center is at the origin. Yes, so this one you find out that your center is at 0, 0 at the origin. Okay, so in the next section on 4.4, where your center is no longer at 0, 0, it's in HK. So that means it's been translated to another location. So what happens is that, so if your center is no longer at 0, 0, is translate into HK, then your formula will change a little bit. Your x will be minus h and your y will be minus k. So if you remember the formula we use over here, the circle. So the center is at 0, 0, but what happens if the center is at HK? Then the formula will change to become x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared. Same thing happens to your parabola. So if your vertex, because parabola don't have a center, if your vertex is at HK, again, it's not 0, 0, then we will change this to x will be minus h and y will be k. So you will get x minus h squared equals to 4py minus k. So what you do is you just put your y will be minus k, your x will be minus h. So that's the difference between 4.3 and 4.4 is your formula change a little bit because your center is no longer at the origin. Same thing happens to ellipse. So you just do x minus h squared, y minus k squared. Okay. And same thing happens to your ellipses. It's going to be x minus h squared and then y minus k squared. So this is what you get in the formula here. So the formulas will become very similar. So I will recommend you to, as you know that you are allowed to use this in your test. So make sure you put this in your, you're allowed to use one little piece of notes in your test. So I will recommend you to put this in there. And don't forget ellipses, in order for you to find your C is C squared equals to A squared minus B squared. And for hyperbola, it's going to be C squared equals to A squared plus B squared. And hyperbola also have asymptotes. So the asymptote in this case will be y minus k, because our y, your y and x is already in not in 0, 0. Your center is in hk. So plus minus b over a x minus h. So this b over a is on the horizontal one. So this is for the horizontal one. Let me move this somewhere so you guys can. So this is for the ellipse. Put in a different color for it so you can see. And then this is for, and then for the vertical one, is exactly the same as this one. But we just switch your B over A to become A over B. So this is your vertical asymptotes in this case. So no, so this is for this. So make sure you guys know it's a little bit different from the 4.3. How much different it is just make sure that all your x is been minus h and all your y is been minus k. So that's the difference that I will point out in this case. Okay. So very important stuff. So the one in red is for hyperbola, the one in blue is for ellipses. Now, the main part here is how do you figure out which one is which? So if I give you an equation that looks something like this, which is a very nice equation, then you can just compare. Oh, this one, since only one square and your y is square, so this is going to be a parabola with the horizontal axis because this is already written down as one square and your p in this case is 2, your k is 1, and your h is -2. You can tell directly from looking at here. This one, because both of these x variable is square and plus, this is going to be an ellipse. And since 9 is greater than 4, so in this case, this is your a and this is your a square and your b square. So this is going to be ellipse with the major axis of horizontal because it will be the number here is greater than the a in this case greater than b. So if I give you something like this, you can easily compare this and figure out what's going on. But what happens if I just give you an equation that looks something like this? You cannot figure out what kind of conic sections we have. So you have to identify. So this kind of questions you will get in my test. And this is the one that costs like a lot of points. So, so make sure you guys know how to do this. So in order for us to figure out this equation belongs to which conic sections, you have to perform completing the squares. This is very important. Okay. You have to perform completing the squares, and you're going to do it twice, one for the x variables and one for the y variables. Okay. So what are the steps to complete the square here? This is so important. So make sure you guys know this. I'll write that down. So the first step to do completing the square is to separate your variables. So what I mean by separate your variables here means that your x square, all your x in one side, this is the equal sign, all your y squared in the middle, and then your all the y, not x, all the x and all the y, no square. So it can be square, so that means all the x and y, and then the number is on the other side. So this is what is the first step to do, is to separate them. Second step is your x squared. So make sure your x squared and your y squared is 1. Okay. What happens if it's not 1? You have to factor it out. Factor a out from ax squared. So if you have a 2 or 3 or 4, you have to factor the 2, 3, 4 out from that. Okay, and same thing with the b, the y squared. Okay, so make sure that you do the same thing for the y. Next, step number 3, you take the middle term, your bx, make it over 2 and square it. This is formulas. You get a number. So b in this case is your middle term. Okay, and you have to add it to the both sides of the equations. Okay, so you have to add this. What happens lastly, next is number 5, 4. You factor it. So you will get x squared plus bx plus c. This, when you factor it, it is a perfect square. And the perfect square in this case is x plus b over 2. So you take the middle term and you divide by 2. Okay. And you repeat again for the y terms. And once you get this, you will get yourself what we call as your completing the squares here. So yes, it is quite a lot of work, and that's how you figure it out. And it has a domino effects, means that if one of this is wrong, if your completing square is wrong, then mostly majority of the work that you've done is all automatically wrong. Okay. So this worth around 10 to 12 points in your finals. So please pay attention here. Very important. For the question 3, we got this equation, 4x squared minus y squared minus 4x minus 3. So the first thing what we do here is to separate your variables. So I will put all the x squares here, all the x. So I got 4x squared minus 4x here. I got the negative y squared, which is right here. And I will move that negative 3 over here to become a positive 3. So this is your first step, is to separate the variables. X on one side, y in the middle, and the number move it to the other side. And make sure, class, the sign is very important. The number next to the variable, the term, the sign. So if it's a plus, make sure it's plus. If it's minus, it's minus. A lot of students did not bring the sign over, and then again, everything is wrong. So we're going to concentrate on x first. So if you have a number in front of your x squared, you have to factor it out. So this question has a 4 in front. So I will factor the 4 out. So what I get here is x squared minus x. Okay, so this is the meaning of second step, is make sure that your x squared in this case is 1. If you have a number in front, you factor it. And then the third step is to take your middle term. This is your middle term. So it's negative 1. And you over 2 and you square it. So this is your third step. Take your middle term, over 2 by square. So when you square this is 1 over 4. So you will add 1 over 4 here. Now and then you say you have to add it to both sides of the equation. So a lot of students add 1 over 4 here. That will be wrong. The reason why this is wrong is because your equation, as you know, this equation it should be balanced. Although you add 1/4 here, you're not adding 1/4 in this case, is because we have a 4 in front. So you do need to distribute this 4 into this 1/4. So anyone know what is a 4th times a quarter?
1.
So that number is 1, and that you have to add it over here. So the common mistake students make here is they add 1/4, they forgot to multiply 4, and that is a wrong. Okay, so do not do that. Questions with this? This is step 3. So I put a little star on F both sides here. So the star is this star over here. So be careful with it. And the last step is these 3 terms. Step number 4, you can factor. So this factor in this case will be a perfect squares factors. You take the middle term, which is -1, and you over by 2. So your b over 2. So this will be an x minus half square, and you got a 4 here. So don't forget, you still have a 4. So this is how you perform your completing the squares. And again, you have to do it twice, one for the x, one for the y. We did the x. Now the good news is the y doesn't have any y term. You only have y square terms. So you do not need to factor this below. So this one, you just bring it down. So you become negative y squared. But if you have a negative y squared plus 3y, and yes, then you have to go through the 4 steps of completing the squares. But if you just only have x squared or y squared term by itself, it doesn't have anything, then you don't need to worry about doing it. And then you add these 2 up, so 3 plus 1 become 4. So as you know that in order for you to use one of these formulas, it all has to be equals to 1. Okay, so what do? Is I will divide everything here by 4. So this will be equals to 1. So our formula is always equals to 1. So this will be canceled out. So what we have in this case is x minus 1/2 squared over 1, because 4 divided by 4 is 1, minus y squared over 4, and this is equals to 1. So this is the completing the square here. And we're not done yet. This is just a starting. Questions with this one? So my question next is, what kind of conic section is this? Is this a parabola, hyperbola, ellipse, or a circle? Anyone?
In a hyperbola.
Now, in your test, if you just tell me hyperbola, you won't get a full point, because ellipse, hyperbola, and parabola has 2 types. If you say hyperbola, where is your transverse axis at? Is your transverse axis on the horizontal or on the vertical axis?
So horizontal,
Why you say it's horizontal?
because x is first.
Okay, x is positive. Okay, so make sure you guys know that x is positive here, not x is first. So this is what you need to write for me. This is a hyperbola with a transverse axis on the horizontal, because your x in this case is positive, your y in this case is negative. Okay. Now, because it is a hyperbola, so you need to tell me the center of this hyperbola. And the center is given us by HK. So don't forget, this is your H and this is your K, the one next to your Y is K, the one. So what is your center in this case? H is 1/2, K is 0. So we don't have a K, a 0 here. So your center in this case is 1/2, 0. Now, as you look at your transverse axis is horizontal, that means this is your A square and this is your B square. Don't forget, in hyperbola, not necessarily A has to be greater than B. So this is fine. So so underneath is A square, underneath there is B square. So can someone tell me what is your vertex here? Vertices. Is a vertices using A, B, or C?
A.
A. Okay. So can someone tell me what is A in this case? since a squared is 1, so a is
1.
1, right? So how do you figure out what is your vertices in this case? Because it is a horizontal. Horizontal means that all your points is on the x-axis. So when you look at your vertices in this case is your x-axis will be the changing one. So it'll be h plus minus ak. Okay. So if you have a vertex, if you have a horizontal, then your a will be added to your x value because it is the one that you move left or right. But if it's on the vertical one, then it will be hk plus minus a. Okay, so make sure you guys know that because on the vertical one, your a in this case is on the y value, so that's why your y value will be changing. So what is your answer in this case is h is 1/2, plus minus a is 1, k is 0. Okay. Now in your online homework, do not use this because they don't like this answer. So your answer will be 3/2, 0, because 1 plus 1/2 is 3/2, and negative 1/2, 0, because 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. So this is your center. This is very important. And this is your vertices. Okay. Now, the next question they want you to find is focus point or foci. Now, foci in this case, we use C. So it is h plus minus ck. But this question doesn't have C. You only have A and B. So does anyone here know how to find C in this case? So in order for you to find C for a hyperbola, you have to use C squared equals to A squared plus B squared. So in order for us to find C in this case is the A squared plus B squared. Now we know that A squared is 1 and the B squared is 4. So C in this case is the square root of 5 because 1 plus 4 is 5. So the focus point in this case will be h is 1/2 plus minus square root of 5, 0, because our C is root 5. Now again, in your online homework, you will just write this as 2 times 1/2 plus root 5, 0. Again, you cannot combine this because one is a square root and one is a non-square root. So this is your focus point in this case. Okay. And we still need to do a lot of work here. Still have a little bit more. And we need to find what is your asymptote in this case. Now, since you told me that this is a hyperbola on the horizontal, for the horizontal, your asymptote is given us by this formula, y minus k plus minus b over ax minus h. So this is the formula to find your asymptote if it's on the horizontal axis. So in this case, your equation for a horizontal asymptote in this case is your Slane asymptote is y minus k equals to plus minus b over ax minus h, which is this one. Okay. So k in this case is 0, so it's y, plus minus b in this case is 2. Don't forget b is 2, not 4. So 2 over 1 is 2. And then x minus h, h in this case is 1/2. Okay. So don't forget there are 2 asymptotes in this case. One is the positive 2 times x minus 1/2. One is a negative 2x times x minus 1/2. Now I'm okay you write this in your home in my test, but in your online homework you have to distribute your 2. So you will get y equals to 2x minus 1 if you take positive 2 and distribute it, or y equals to negative 2x plus 1 if you use negative 2. When you distribute negative 2, you get negative 2x plus 1. So this is what you need to write down on your online homework. But for me in the test, you just write this down, which is fine with me. You do not need to distribute your positive and negative 2 inside to get this answer. So now you got all this center, vertices, foci, asymptotes. Now we have to graph this. Yes, that's why this costs a lot of points, because there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, so take all this and graph it. So first is the center. The center in this case is 1/2, 0, so somewhere around here. Your vertices is 1. So 1 means you move 1 here and 1 here. So that is your A is 1. So that's why you will get 3/2, 0 and negative 1, 0. So I put this as B. So this is your vertices in this case. Then foci, you do not need to draw your foci. Your foci is somewhere here. This is your foci. Okay, so for hyperbola, your foci is the last one. So that means this graph is going to open sideways. This is your vertices. But in order for you to draw the sideways, so class, if you just do it like this in your test, you won't get full points. It's because you need to have asymptotes. So how do we draw the asymptotes in this case is draw me the box. So our A in this case is 1 and our B in this case is 2. Yes.
Isn't vertices said 1/2 or is it 3/2?
This is 3/2.
Okay.
1/2 is your center.
Okay.
This is center. Okay. You will move, you're gonna add 1 and 1 to that side because your A is 1. So you have to add 1 here and 1 here. So when you add, subtract 1. So when you add 1, 1/2 becomes 3/2. When you subtract 1, 1/2 will become negative. That's why you got these vertices values. Okay. Your box in this case, because you got 1 here, your B in this case is 2. So you have to go up 2 and you have to go down 2. So this is your box here. Your box in this case will have 1, 1 on A, 2, 2 on B, up and down. So your vertices in this case will be drawing from one end to the center to the other end, and then one end to the center to the other end. And this line is y equals to negative 2x plus 1, because the slope is negative. And this line is y equals to 2x plus 1. Okay, a minus 1, sorry, 2x minus 1. So now you can draw the graph. So this is, you have to kind of like, this is your slant asymptote. So you have to go parallel with it and then go touch your vertex, and then you go down that way. Same thing over here. You go parallel with your asymptotes, touch your vertex, and then go parallel with your asymptotes. So this green graph is how we draw the graph for this. A lot of work, huh? And this worth 10 to 12 points in your test. A lot of points. Okay, and it has a domino effect, means that if something wrong with your completing the squares, everything after that is all going to be wrong. But in the test, I won't give you 0. I will still look at the wrong one and I will still figure out what's going on. The more mistake you make, the more points I deduct. So if you make one tiny mistake here, which I know everything is going to be wrong, I will take 1 point off. But the more mistakes you make here and there, I'll take more points off. So for a hyperbola, you have to give me the center, the vertices, the foci, and the asymptote. So 4 things for hyperbola. Ellipse, if I talk about ellipse only needs to give me the center, the vertices, and the foci, because ellipse no asymptotes. Okay. For circle is easy. If I ask for circle needs two things: the center and the radius. Because if you know the center and the radius, you'll be good. And if you ask for parabola needs the vertex, focus, and the directrix. So parabola needs three things: vertex, focus, and directrix. For circle, you need to give me your center and your radius. For ellipse, center, vertices, and foci. But for hyperbola, center, vertices, foci, and asymptote. We got 4 things here. So it's a lot. Okay. So I want you guys to look at question 4 here. This is the question 4. I want you guys to do completing the square here. Question 4. I want you guys to do completing squares. First, separate your variables. Factor a out if you have a number in front of your x squared. Take your middle term divided by 2 and then factor it like what we did over here. So go ahead, do question 4 here. Do the x first. This is tough. Don't forget, follow the steps. If you don't follow the steps, you get everything wrong. Anyone remember what is the first step for completing the squares here?
Separate the x's from the y's.
So what do you get, Faris?
16x squared minus 16x.
And then?
Plus 16y squared plus 24y.
And then?
Equals 3.
Yep. So this is the first step you do. So make sure you separate your x and y's and numbers. Second step, let's concentrate on x first now. What you do on the second step, since x squared, you need to make x squared equals to 1. So what you do?
Sure.
Factor out 16. So you got x squared minus x. That's the second step, is to, if you have any number in front, take it out. Third step is to take the middle term, which is -1. What do you do with it? -1, and what do you do? Divided by 2, and you square it. It's always like that. So what you get when you take a -1 divided by 2 and you square it?
You get 1/4.
So you will add this to both sides of the equation. But when you add 1/4 here, what you should add on to the 3 here?
You
Well, you
should
gotta
add
distribute the 16 to the 1/4.
So what you get?
4.
And this 3, you will be completing the squares. It will be what? X, you take the middle term and divide by 2, you get -1/2. And you got 16 still. Don't forget the 16 is still there. So this is how we perform completing the square for the x term. You're going to repeat for the y terms. So again, we are factoring 16. Now we're not factoring 8. A lot of students, oh, the greatest common factor for 16 and 24 is 8. I will take 8 out and you get wrong. So you have to take 16. Our goal here is to make your y squared become 1. Okay, so not 2, not 3, not 4, 1. So this follow, when you factor out 16, you will get 24 over 16. Can someone reduce 24 over 16?
It's
Wait,
3
why is it
over
over
2.
16?
I'm sorry.
Why is it over 16?
Because when you distribute, you get 24y.
But don't you like multiply 16 by 24?
16 times 24, I need to get 24y here, right?
Uh-huh.
So when you multiply this, what you get?
Oh.
That's why we divide by 16. So when you multiply this, you get 24y, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we divide by 16. And what is the reduce of 24 over 16?
3 over 2.
So this is 3 over 2. And then what you do next is you take the middle term, which is 3 over 2, and you divide it by 2 and you square it. Don't forget, you have to divide this by 2 and square it. Does anyone know what is 3 over 2 divided by 2?
It's 3 over 4.
And what happens when you square this?
You get 9 over 16.
So we will add 9 over 16 here. But we do not add 9 over 16. What do we add over here?
You add 9 because you distribute out the 16.
Yep, that's correct, David. You add 9 in this case. And these 3 terms will factor become what? Half of 3 half. What is half of 3 half? You get 3 over 4. And then we still have a positive 16 here. And can someone add this up for me? What you get? Three plus 4 plus 9 is also 16. So what do we do here is we want to make this as 1. So I will divide everything here by 16. So what do I get here when I divide everything here by 16? I will get x minus half squared, because the 16 will cancel, plus y plus 3/4 squared. Again, the 16 will cancel. And this is equals to 1. 16, 16. So can someone tell me what kind of conic section is this? Is that a circle? Is that ellipse? Is this a hyperbola or a parabola?
Isn't that a circle?
This is a circle, yes. Because once you cancel like this, means your A and B is the same, because they are all, in this case, 1. So this is a circle. Circle is easy because you just need to tell me 2 things, the center and the radius. So what is the center of this circle? And what is the radius of the circle? Center is what? HK here. What's center here? Negative 1/2 or positive 1/2 for your h.
Negative.
Okay, don't forget, all your sign here, if you remember when you write this, all the sign here has negative on it, but your HK is positive. So what it means here is your H and K sign is flipped. So if you got a negative, it become positive. If it's a positive, it become negative. So what is your center in this case?
So positive 1/2 and negative 3/4.
So make sure you guys know that. This is not just for circle. This is for every single one, okay? Circle, ellipse, hyperbola, parabola. So if you see this, your sign has to be switched around. So negative become positive, positive become negative, like what we have here. What is your radius? Radius is this r square here. So what is the square root of 1? You can take the square root of it.
Just 1.
1. So this is what you need to tell me, because circle, you only need to tell me 2 things: center and radius. You do not need to do, there's no vertex, no foci and all those things. How do you draw
Circle probably
it?
the easiest one.
I'm sorry.
Circle the easiest one out of all of them compared to.
Circle, you just need 2 things: center and radius.
Yeah, I know. I'm asking, like, is it the easiest one out of all of them?
Yes, center is the
Okay.
easiest of all of those. Yeah. So 1/2 is here. Negative, I'm going to do like this so you guys know that. So everything is a quarter. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So negative 3/4 is here. So this is your center of the circle. The black dot here is 1/2 and 3/4. The radius in this case is 1. So because one of this is a 1/4 inch, a 1/4 unit, so I need 4. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, because when I go 4, the radius is 1. And then I go 4 to the top, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, because your radius is 1. And if you do quarters, means you have to do 4 units. And if you draw me this circle, this will be the circle in this case. Questions? Yes, circle is the most easiest conic section among those 4. Right, you do number 5 here. Nine x squared plus 25y squared minus 36x minus 50y plus 52. Go home and do number 6, because we don't have time for that. Go home and do number 6 on your own. So what's the first step to do this kind of section, conic sections? Separate this. So 9x squared minus 36x here. Positive 25y squared minus 50y. So I put all the y's, and I will move the 52 over, so it become negative 52. So that is the first step to separate your variables. Next, factor the 9 out. So I will get x squared minus 4x. And then I take this divided by 2. So the middle term, negative 4 divided by 2, and you square it. So what is negative 4 divided by 2, and you square it? Middle term?
4.
Hmm?
4.
4, right? So you add 4 here, but what you need to add here next?
36.
36. 9 times 4 is 36. And you need to factor this fellow. So if you factor this, this is a perfect square. And that perfect square is x minus 2. Okay. So this is how we do the x term. The minus 2 come from half of -4. So always like that. It's always half of the middle term. Okay. We do the y term. So again, we need to factor out the 25. So y is by itself. So we got minus 2y. So we take the middle term, -2. We divide by 2 and you square it. So this will give me 1. So I will add 1 here, but I will add what here?
25.
25. So this will give me a positive 25. And this factor become y minus 1 squared. And where I get the -1 is again half of the -2. And then you just need to add all this number up. So whoever have a calculator, can you help me to add this one up? What do you got here? You will get 9. Again, in order for us to figure out what conic section of this has to be 1. So I will divide everything by 9. So now this is 1. Now the good news is this is also 1. So you will get x minus 2 squared over 1 because 9 over 9. Now this cannot be divided. So how can we get rid of this 25? So it goes. So that's a trick I showed to you on last week. This 25 will go below 9, so it become 9 over 25. So this 25 will go below it, so become 9 over 25. So this is the completing the squares here. So now what you do is looking at your formulas. You have to tell me what kind of conic section is this. Is this a hyperbola, a circle, an ellipse, a hyperbola, or a parabola?
Ellipse.
This is an ellipse, and you have to tell me, is this ellipse has a major axis on the horizontal or on the vertical? So this is major axis is on the, how do we know which one is which? Is to figure out which one is your A, which one is your B, because for ellipse, A has to be greater than B. So between these two, can you tell, between 1 and 9 over 25, which one is bigger?
One is bigger.
Which one?
1.
Yep, so that means this is your A square. This is your B square. So for ellipse, make sure you figure out which one is bigger. And the bigger one belongs to the A square. The smaller one belongs to the B square. So which one can you tell me? So since A square is under X, so this is actually what major axis is on what? Is on the horizontal. Okay. So this is your conic section here. So we have to find what is the center for this. Again, your center in this case is HK, which is this 2, your X and Y here. So in this case will be 2, 1. Okay, so that is your center. Your vertices in this case, it belongs to A. So you'll be, because it's a horizontal, horizontal is on the X axis. So it will be plus minus a on the h. A in this case is 1 because a squared is 1. So a in this case is 1. So this will become 2 plus minus 1, 1, because my k is 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. And then 2 plus 1 is 3. So this is your vertices. You got 2 of them. Next, we need to find is the focus point of foci. Foci, we don't use A or B, we use C. Okay. So how do you figure out C? Is we use the formula. So for ellipse, to find C is C squared equals to A squared minus B squared. So this is C squared equals to A squared minus B squared. A squared in this case is 1. B squared in this case is 9 over 25. So this is 16 over 25. And then you need to take the square root of it because so C in this case is 4 over 5. So now we plug it over here. H is still 2. C is 4 over 5. K is still 1. So when you take 2 minus 4 over 5, you will get 6 over 5. 1. And then when you take 2 plus 4 over 5, you get 14 over 5. 1. So this is your foci in this case. And you do not need to do asymptotes because ellipse doesn't have asymptotes. So now we can just graph this. The first thing you need to graph is the center. The center is 2, 1. Since your vertices is 1, 1, and 3, 1. So 1, 1 is over here. This is your vertices. And 3, 1 is over here. This is your vertices. That means your A in this case is 1. Okay. Now we need to do the B. So B squared is 9 over 25. So B in this case is 3 over 5. So what you do here is you go up 3 over 5, go down 3 over 5. So you go up and down 3 over 5 because that's my B. So you got this point and this point based on the B. And you got this point and this point based on your A or based on your vertex. So your ellipse here will be look something like this. This is your ellipse. So this is what your graph looks like for question 5. Questions? Practice? Oh, yes. Please practice this, especially number 6. Because I did not do number 6, I would recommend you guys to go ahead and try number 6. It is in the D2L, the key is in D2L website, so please go check it. Okay. So far, what we did here is I give you the equation. You have to give me what kind of the conic sections we have. Is that the center, the vertex, the foci, and then after that, you graph it. So this is the one that in the test worth like 10 to 12 points. I also will ask you the other way around. Means that I give you the maybe the vertex and the foci or something else, and I want you to give me the equation back the opposite way. So so this is question number 7. So 7, 8, 9, they want you to find what is the standard form of equation. So you need to give me the equations, and I will tell you it is a parabola. But I didn't tell you is that on the vertical or the horizontal one. So you have to figure out yourself. Given us the vertex in this case is -2, 1. and your directrix in this case is x equals to 1. So how can we figure out if I give you which one is vertical and which one is horizontal if I give you this information? It's a parabola, right? This is your HK because that's your vertex. So can someone tell me what information that you use here to figure out, are they on the vertical or are they on the horizontal? This is important. Okay. I'm going to take attendance here, so please put a present on your chat room. So anyone know how we get this? How do we know this is a horizontal or a vertical if I give you a parabola? Which determines it? The vertex or the directrix? The directrix is the one that determines which is the one. To be more precise, look at the variables we have. If you have a y equals 2, it is on the vertical side. If it's a x equals 2, it is on the horizontal side. So since it's given us x equals 2, so this is a horizontal parabola. Okay, so it depends on your directrix, not your vertex. Okay, so make sure you guys understand, if you see y equals 2, it is a parabola with vertical axis. X equals 2 is horizontal. So this is a horizontal. So the equations that we use in this case will be y minus k squared equals to 4px minus h. Now we know hk already here. We need to figure out p. And how do we figure out p? Again, we use our directrix. The formula to find directrix here is h minus p. And we know h in this case is -2 from your vertex. Okay, so that means these two are equal. So 1 in this case is equals to -2 minus p. So what is p in this case? So solve for p. So we're using this formula h minus p to find p in this case. So p in this case will be a -3. So now we got p, we got the vertex, you plug inside to this formula. So we got y minus 1 squared equals to 4 times -3 x plus 2. So this is your answer for this case. So for parabola, p is the most important piece here. Next, question number 8, they will ask you for an ellipse. So they will tell you what is the conic section here. You just need to figure out what is your equation. Again, the question will not tell you are they vertical or horizontal, but they give us that the foci in this case is 0, 0, and 0, 8. And the major axis in this case is 16. So last time for parabola, you look at your directrix to figure out which one is which. So how do you know for the ellipse? Is that a vertical or horizontal? So for this case, you need to draw the picture, kind of draw the picture. The foci in this case is given us by 0, 0, which is right here, and 0, 8. 0, 8 is right here. So this is your foci. So can someone tell me, is this foci on the vertical or on the horizontal? 0, 0, 0, 8. Is it on the vertical line or on the horizontal line? If you look at your focus. Since they are on the same y-axis, so y-axis in this case will be on the vertical line. Now, the question here, if you look at the ellipse on the vertical, they give us the formula. Ellipse on the vertical is given us by the formula of x minus h squared over b squared. This is the vertical. Plus y minus k squared over a squared equals to 1. This is your vertical. But h and k is your center. So how do you find your center? The hint is your center is your midpoint. Midpoint means it's right in the middle. So in order for us to find the midpoint, you just need to add your focus point and divide by 2. So 0 plus 0 over 2, 0 plus 8 over 2, because your x in this case are zeros and your y in this case are 0 and 8. So you add up, divide by 2. So your midpoint in this case is 0, 4. So this is your h, this is your k. So since we know this is 0, 4, we need to find what is the distance. So what is the distance between your focus point to your center? So since this is 0, 4 and this is 0, 8, so the distance in this case is 4. So that is your C, because that is the distance from the center to the foci. So that is your C. The question also gives us major. Our major in this case, the formula is 2a. So a in this case will be 8. So seems like we got almost everything that we need for the formula, because we know a, we know k, we know h, because it's from here, but we are missing b. So in order for us to find the b, you have to use the c squared equals to a squared minus b squared, because that is the formula to find for the vertex, to find the ellipse. So c squared in this case is 16. A squared in this case is 64 minus b squared. So you can solve for b squared here. So b squared in this case will be 48. 64 minus 16. Now you just plug all this into this equation and you get yourself the answer. So we will get x squared, because my h is 0. B squared is 48 plus y minus k, which is 4 squared. A squared is 8, so 8 squared is 64. So don't forget, you need to multiply this by is a squared, and this is equal to 1. So this is the equation of this ellipse for question 8. Tough? The work for this is less than the work we did on the first, So this is actually less work compared to this completing the squares, because completing the squares takes more time. The last one is given us by hyperbola. Again, the question did not tell us is that a vertical or a horizontal, but they've told us that your vertices is at 2, 0, and 6, 0. And your foci in this case is given us by 0, 0, and 8, 0. So if I give you parabola, the directrix is the one that you look for to figure out vertical, horizontal. If I give you ellipse, you have to draw the picture and figure out which way they're located. If they're located on a vertical line, vertical. Same thing with hyperbola. Hyperbola, you also need to draw the picture. And you have to figure out where is your vertices and where is your foci located at. And that will tell you, are they on the vertical or horizontal? So vertices is 2, 0 and 6, 0. This is the vertices. And the foci is at 0, 0 and 8, 0. This is the focus point. So where do you think this is located at? On the vertical or on the horizontal? Since your vertices and foci are on the x-axis, so this belongs to what? It belongs to the horizontal axis. And again, in order for us to find the center is the midpoint. So what is the midpoint between the vertex 2, 6? If you find the midpoint, 2 plus 6, so this is going to be at 4. Okay, so your center in this case will be at 4, 0, because that is the midpoint between those two. And since you tell this is a hyperbola of having a horizontal axis on the transverse, so a hyperbola having a horizontal transverse axis, the formula we are using here is going to be the first one, x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals to 1. And we already know your hk because that is your center. So hk is your center here. Now we need to figure out your a and b here. So we use back the same rules that we used last time. So the distance from your center to your vertex, this is your a. So a in this case is 2 because the difference between 4 and 6 and 4 and 2 is 2. And then the difference between your center and your foci, that is your c, and that is 4, because the difference between 4 and 8 or 4 and 0 is 4. So again, we got the a and c, so we need to find b here. So we use the same formula, but we don't use the a squared minus b squared. So we will use c squared equals to a squared plus b squared. C in this case is 4, so when you square it becomes 16. A is 2, when you square it becomes 4, and this is become b plus b squared. So b squared in this case is 12, 4 plus 12. So now we just plug all this back into this formula. You will get x minus 4 squared, your h in this case is 4, over by a squared is 2, so when you square it becomes 4, minus y squared because my k is 0, over by b squared is 12, and this is equals to 1. So this is how you find your equations of your hyperbola. So this is how we do this kind of questions. So I would suggest you guys, since you're allowed to bring 1 page of formula into your finals, this page that I call you the 4.4 here, this half a page of this formula here is very important. So make sure you guys write this down in your test, in your note here. You can bring into your test because this is very, very important. And class, don't forget, if you write this down and if you doesn't know how to apply it, is useless. So make sure you write this down and apply it. So when you do your homework 4.3 and 4.4, make sure you use this page to help you with. That's it for today's class. If you have any questions,